If you're joining us from the Porygon/Porygon-2 video, welcome. I'm really glad you decided to watch the coolest of the Porygons in my opinion. Porygon-Z is apparently what you get when you try to give a Porygon-2 the ability to travel through dimensions and it goes wrong, which is just so goddamn cool. However, if you're just tuning in because you found this video on YouTube on its own, we have a previous video about Porygon and Porygon-2 that you should check out as well. Here's the link, and there's also a link in the description down below. Oh, and the week that this video is released is quite the busy one for us at False Sweat Gaming, so check out our other videos this week too. This is also technically our first Gen 4 Pokemon video, but I mean, it's technically a continuation of Porygon and Porygon-2, so it doesn't really count. I don't know. In this video, we'll be covering the following competitive formats. We're starting off in Gen 4 because that is, of course, when Porygon-Z was introduced. Porygon-Z traded off some bulk for 30 points of special attack and 30 much needed points in speed. With a base 135 special attack, Porygon-Z tied Alakazam for the strongest non-Uber special attacker. But Porygon had some even bigger tricks up its sleeve, packing Adaptability, an ability that increases stab bonus from 1.5 times to 2 times. Thanks to this, Porygon-Z's tri-attack was basically a base 160 attacking move, and with Nasty Plot, Porygon-Z had in its resume the incredible ability to one-hit KO Blissey after just one boost. Tri-Attack was just so powerful that other moves were meant to shore up its coverage, so the Nasty Plot set ran Hidden Power Fighting and Dark Pulse to hit Ghost, Rock, and Steel types that otherwise might resist Tri-Attack. But just like its 2.0 counterpart, it was Porygon-Z's speed that was its Achilles heel, which it literally just got a buff for, but I actually feel kind of bad for it. That really sucks. The Nasty Plot set was just too slow to reliably sweep, frequently needing screen supports for any chance of a sweep. And so even though it was Porygon-Z's selling point when it first appeared in the scene, it fell to the wayside as people realized it was overhyped. In fact, the two more popular sets were Choice Specs and Agility. Choice Specs delivering a wall-up before any setup, and Agility meant to help that lackluster speed out. It's worth noting that the Agility set also ran Porygon-Z's other very good ability, Download, which gives a boost on switching depending on the lower defense stat of the opposing Pokemon. But if you didn't want to run Agility, I guess you could run a Choice Scarf too. You know, a lot of Pokemon in this generation were running around with that. Anyway, if Porygon-Z happened to download a special attack boost, its Tri-Attack would be even more powerful than with Adaptability. Porygon-Z's loss in bulk meant that it really hated priority moves, specifically Vacuum Wave and Mach Punch, and was quite susceptible to being revenge killed. There were actually quite a few Pokemon that could cut its download short. Heatran, Scizor, and Tyranitar specifically all gave it quite big problems, and common Scarfers like Flygon and Infernape gave it room for pause, as did fast attackers like Azo. Porygon-Z relied pretty heavily on team support, its friends of choice being Magnezone and Restock Gyarados, who handled its counters really well. Porygon-Z was a threatening force to be sure, but it fell just short of overuse because of its lower speed and defenses, and so it was relegated to borderline, not even allowed to unleash its digital wrath on underuse. Now, I didn't actually find a common Porygon-Z set for Gen 4 VGC, but I did find it in one video, and it's pretty funny, so I'll share it with all of you since we have time in this video. Porygon-Z's only appearance in Gen 4 doubles, or at least the one that I could find, was pretty gimmicky, but also pretty hilarious. Last Resort, if you're not familiar, is a hugely powerful physical normal move that can only be used when you've used every other move at least once. With Protect as its only other move, Porygon-Z could protect once and then spam Last Resort. And even with a meh attack stat of base 85, Adaptability meant that Porygon-Z's Last Resort was base 260 power. And again, this set was only used once that I know of, in an Arizona Regional Finals in 2009. And it got one Last Resort off and then died. And then the player lost a match. Okay, it doesn't look like a good set, but it's pretty funny. And that person did make it to finals, so maybe we didn't actually see its full potential. In Gen 5, Porygon-Z remained pretty much the same set-wise. Too bad the meta didn't. It may be powerful, but there were even more fast Pokemon that could snuff it out before it had a chance to quack. And not to mention, fast fighting types. Yeah, I know I mentioned them a lot, but they really were around a bunch in Black and White. It's sort of like the high school bully beating up the nerd, you know? Although Porygon-Z was still obscenely powerful to the point that nothing can really safely switch into it, it was revenge killed so easily that it honestly barely ever created any momentum. Not to mention, there's a new ridiculously strong special attacker in town named Chandelure, who deals with fighting types much better than Porygon-Z. And even past that, Poke-Aim told us that Latios was the preferred nuker if you needed one, if you needed to, say, drop a Draco, and so the duck was finally free to wade in the ponds of underused. In VGC, Normal Gem Adaptability Hyper Beam or Tri-Attack was Porygon-Z's one gimmick, which was admittedly pretty strong, I'll be honest. With immediate support from teammates in the form of Tailwind, Porygon-Z had a much better chance of utilizing its power, and it had a good coverage with Dark Pulse and Ice Beam. However, it still wasn't used that frequently because of its common counters, or at least I couldn't really find that much uses of it. And those common counters were Steel types and Fighting types, who would have guessed? But it seems decent. In Gen 6, Porygon-Z stayed unfortunately outdated. As a ball of stats offensively, it was really just outclassed by all the Megas and things that could set up more reliably. And of course, more priority and more Mega fighting types caused Porygon to halt and catch fire, at least in overuse. Down and underused, it wreaked virtual havoc, boosting with both agility and nasty plot and tearing through opponents. And as for Gen 6 VGC, I couldn't really find any record of Porygon-Z being used, but Cybertron told me that it was mainly seen with Scarf or Specs, but it was still very niche. So how good was Porygon-Z? It was okay. It debuted in overuse with the hype of its special attack and being a new evolution, but as people learned how to play around it smarter, it ended up archaic and stayed in underuse. Honestly, Porygon 2 might have had a better history overall, but it's also been around longer, so I mean, is that really a fair comparison? I don't know. Oh well, sometimes you just gotta stick with your old comfortable programs, like my mom who still uses Internet Explorer. And that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this little add-on, and be sure to check out the other 3 videos that were released this week. And of course, be sure to subscribe to False Swipe Gaming for more weekly Pokemon content, and comment on what Pokemon you want next. Thank you so much to our patrons for continued support of our videos, and of course the extra help we got from them in bringing out more content during the week. Follow my crew on social media, and that's it. See you guys next time.